In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at my VS Calais Series 2. It's a 1996 model. It's in a reasonably rare colour, heather frost green. I'll take you around the car, we'll have a look inside, I'll take you for a spin, and thanks for tuning in. On the front, this is the first Calais to have standard fog lights. They weren't even optional on the other models. These fog lights are taken from the VR and VSSS. The other thing that changed on the Series 2 is we moved to a 16-inch wheel design. They were 16 by 7. These wheels were originally designed for the VT and brought forward for the VS Calais. So instead of 15-inch on the Series 1 and the models before it, we've gone up to 16. It's crazy to think that Holden used the 15-inch wheel since the 1978 VB SLE. It was their first alloy. Obviously it converted to the Calais for the VK, and they maintain a 15-inch for the Calais all these years up until the 1996 Calais. Over 17 years using a 15-inch wheel diameter for their top-of-the-line model. The rear tail lights have the clear repeater, which was used on pretty much all the models except the Executive, where they were orange. At the rear, the Holden badges were updated, so the one under the tail light is the new font for the VS over the VR. The new VS corporate emblem right there in the centre of the boot for the VS. The carryover badge though, they didn't update the styling of that since the VP, is the Calais badge, and this one's a Series 2, so it has a Series 2 badge underneath, which was also released for the VP model. The other major styling update for the VS Calais Series 2 is the two-tone treatment still remained, but instead of being at the centre crease line there, it dropped right down. It followed basically where the VQ Caprice was, and all the Statesmans and Caprices, VQ, VR, VS, have that styling. They pretty much adopted that. The Calais also has some genuine accessories like the bonnet protector, the headlight protectors, and the weather shields on the windows. You can see the Series 2 styling updates did make a change. Have a look at the VS Calais Series 1 inset here, just to see the differences. Both are great looking cars though. As with all the VS Series 2 Commodores, the side repeater became oval. It still remained orange. They did away with the VP and VR and Series 1 VS square repeater. I think the front of it still looks pretty sleek for its age. As with all Calais, it came with colour-coded mirrors. The door handles were also colour-coded since the VP Series 2. Another new feature for the VS was the door moulds on the side in the centre crease. They were updated instead of the standard items, and you also lost the Calais badge that was part of the mould for the Series 1 under the repeater on the front guard. Holden went to a lot of effort for the Series 2 VS Calais. They did make some changes on the interior, which was a bit of a surprise given the model was sort of at the end of its life. Still had the leather bolsters, which that formula continued on from the VR Calais onwards, but there was a new centre fabric. You still had the optional leather. Other updates in the interior included a new door trim design. It was updated, pretty much stolen from the Caprice. So there was velour. The leather half was still there on the top half from the VS Calais, but you also had wood grain in the door trims, wood grain on the dash there as well. You can see around the console and the auto shifter. All that was standard for the VS Series 2. You couldn't even get the one on the dash on the Series 1 at all. You can see here the leather on this car. Normally these go hard as a rock. It's obviously been well looked after. I mean, it is coming up to 30 years next year, this car, so it's doing quite well for its age. Never been retrimmed. It is in its original state. Let's take a closer look at the front. The Calais identification on the dash remained identical since the VP. You can see the half leather bolstered seats here, the colour coded belts which were adjustable from VP onwards. They were adjustable. The wood grain on the lower part of the dash there, on the glove box line, was new for the VS Series 2. For the Series 2 VS Calais, taken from the Caprice, you have a lined glove box. And on the Series 2 Commodore, the little cup holder indents were released. They're pretty much useless unless they're parked. This is a close look at the door trim design. As you can see, it's pretty plush. Soft touch, leather on the top. Pretty much fake wood grain there, but it's still soft. Velour on the base. I mean, new cars today, even the Euros, their soft touch plastic isn't like that. On the Series 2 Calais, they also updated the A and B and C pillar plastics. They're lined with velour. I mean, that's something that really Holden didn't have to do, but they went to the trouble to do it, and I feel like it's quite a luxury touch. Covering up those plastic pillars adds that little bit of extra luxury to this model, and I really like it. Sitting in the back, it's quite a nice car to look at. Even the dash I think's held up pretty well for its age. One thing Holden did on all their Commodores or their luxury models, especially when they lined them with leather, is put the vinyl backings on the seats, of the front seats, where the mat pockets are. I wasn't a big fan of that. I thought either it should just be like a nice velour fabric or actual leather, but that's something Holden did definitely, at least from the VN Commodore onwards. Even a VR VS Senator with full leather has vinyl backed seats. I think it's fine for the base models, but for your luxury models, I don't think it really worked. What did work though was the leather wrapped auto shifter and handbrake lever, which was a nice touch for the Series 2, and that was adopted for some of the HSV models as well. The SS used it as well. So you had leather, auto, handbrake, and airbag wheel. The Calais continued on with the 10-stack CD player in the boot. I have a working one in this one. Ford used to use a 6-stacker. Holden always had a 10-stacker. Being a Calais, it has audio controls on the steering wheel. This has the original head unit, so they still work. These were released on the VR Calais. The first HSV model to have these was the VS Scimitar Series 2. I had a video out on that the other week if you want to check it out. The link is below. The twin nostril grille inserts that you can see here, taken from the VS Series 1, they were updated with all the slats. Let's hop in, let's take it for a bit of a spin. Thanks for tuning in. Being a Calais, since the VP Calais, you've got the variable speed sensitive steering, so it's quite light. That's a factory item. I think they continued it on for VT and VX as well. ABS brakes, independent rear suspension, and dual airbags were standard for the Calais. Being a VS, is the first model to have dual airbags, and the airbag cover does actually buckle a lot on these models. I guess it's their first passenger airbag, so they probably didn't really design it too well. These models are really easy to drive. They're quite comfortable, you've got great visibility. I still feel like when I get in one, they do feel like something special compared to what we drive today. Holden went out with a bang with the end of the Generation 2 Commodores with the VN to VS, the VS being its most refined form. The V6 does what it's meant to do. If you don't put the boot into it, it's quite refined. I enjoy driving it, even though I like my V8s. So it's just one of those cars. It doesn't really get the attention of the Hoons, but it's definitely gets some attention on the road because you don't often see cars like this out and about anymore. That's a wrap for this video. Thanks for coming along for the ride. If you want more VS goodness, please check out my Holden VS brochure series that go into detail for every single model, and also a separate one, VS HSV brochure series. Catch you on the next video.